Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to LearnToDefendCyber. My name is Joseph, and today we're going to be working on the phishing prevention room in Tryhackme. I've got it pulled up in the background here. What's going on, Chris Whitlock? Absolutely, hashtag Team SC. Glad you can make it. I don't know why the chat box isn't working, but maybe it'll pop up after. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll keep an eye on that on the side. But either way, we will go ahead and move forward into the room. So I have the link in the description if you want to go ahead and follow along. But we have been working on phishing rooms recently. The last few streams that I've done and the last few videos that have gone to the channel have all been about phishing, phishing email analysis, and how you would go about collecting some IOCs, or maybe figuring out if this is part of a campaign. But today, we're going to go ahead and look at the email security side of things. Now, the rooms is called phishing prevention, but these are all just different email security techniques, some of which have to do with phishing, some of which can help mitigate phishing with having it in place. So, let's go ahead and pivot over. Let's go ahead and go over. Oh, yeah, there you go. I see you. See the chat working. Let's go ahead and pivot over to the live scene and get to work. Zoom back in on this so we can read everything. So, phishing prevention room. We've got quite a few different tabs here. None of these, I don't know if they touch on this at all, but I'll save the best for last of what I think the best phishing prevention you can have is. But we'll start with a quick introduction. There's a few things we can do as defenders to stop people from even receiving phishing emails. We have email security with SPF, DKIM, and DMARC, which we will get into here in a few. Spam filters to stop emails with bad reputations from domains with bad reputations coming in. Email labels to make sure that sometimes it depends on the labeling system, but most of the time the way I've seen it implemented is you'll have an email come in and it says this user is not a part of your trusted sender list, so all attachments and pictures have been removed. Or you have to click to enable them, or whatever it may be. And then email address domain URL blocking based on a deny list or a reputation system. Attachment blocking, so this is a great one because you can get a lot of easy wins here. Do you really need to be emailing .exes? Do you really need to be emailing RAR files or ISOs? Or I'm sure you have edge cases where you're going to need to email this kind of stuff, but there's ways that you can share information now that doesn't involve having to send things over an email. And quite frankly, it doesn't involve your end users ever being able to see a .iso file. They don't know what a .iso file is. They're just going to click it, and things are going to happen. Okay, so, oh yeah, here we go. Right here at the bottom. So, they mentioned it. I don't see it in the tab list, but security awareness training, in my opinion, is probably the most vital piece of all of this. Now, we can implement all of these technologies, right? We can implement all of the technologies. But until you train your users, you're not going to see success in them stopping or not getting phished, right? If something makes it past all of our security and they don't click, then we have a security issue that we need to resolve and implement new control changes. If something makes it past all of our security controls and that they do click, not only do we have a failure on our part, we have a failure in the fact that we did not make them aware enough to stop the phish from happening. Now, granted, this could be a very sophisticated email campaign, and the phishing campaign can be spoofed to the point where you can't even tell that it's a phishing email and you end up clicking on it. Maybe you weren't thinking, you were rushing. There's plenty of reasons that people get phished all the time. So it's never a reason to get upset at an end user for getting phished. Just take it as a learning opportunity. What can we do to stop this from happening again, right? So, per MITRE ATT&CK framework, phishing for information hyperlink in the room itself is described as an attempt to trick targets into divulging information containing 3 sub-techniques. Visit the above link and look at the mitigation section under software configuration. So we'll go ahead and control click. So we have we have Kensuke here, that's a threat actor, Moonstone Sleet, Scattered Spider, a bunch of different threat actors here. We can see how they've used phishing. We can see mitigations here for software configuration using SPF, DKIM, DMARC, and then user training. So we have the M1054 and M1017. What's going on, Christopher K. Hall? Tried DMARC. TCM has a video on it too. DMARC is good. DMARC is great. It's a good way of just kind of stopping a lot of the noise. Then you have to do some blocking and tackling after that. And we kind of get into DMARC in this one too. You see this right here, because SPF plus DKIM kind of feeds into DMARC. So the way they have things set up, and I don't know why everything's highlighted now. Can we not? Thank you. The way they have set it up, it's a little logical here. Detections in the application logs and network traffic. So you can see, obviously, it's a email comes across the internet. You can see the traffic entering and leaving your domain, so you can monitor there. And then application logs through, I mean, obviously, like your email clients and whatever else, typically Office, whatever it may be. All right, so in this room, we will focus specifically on email security, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC from the actions noted above. After visiting the link, what is the MITRE ID for software configuration mitigation? That is M1054. Go ahead and hit enter, and let's dive into SPF a little bit. What's going on, Jesse? Welcome to the party, pal. Glad you can make it. SPF, Sender Policy Framework. All right, it's used to authenticate the sender of an email with an SPF record in place. ISPs or internet service providers can verify that a mail server is authorized to send email for a specific domain. What is this? It is a quick check to basically verify that your email server can send emails on behalf of carlscoffeeshop.com, right? You either pass or you fail. An SPF record is a DNS or domain name system text record containing a list of IP addresses that are allowed to send an email on behalf of your domain. So basically, whenever you registered this domain, you have your SPF, your Sender Policy Framework, and you tell them, if you're standing up your own email servers, what IP addresses your email servers are at, and if an email comes from a different server that is not one of those IP addresses, then it will fail the SPF check. So we can we see a little bit of a visual workflow here. So you have you send the email, it goes from the sending org's email server, it goes into the recipient's email server, and it checks the DNS here and against the SPF records. It either passes because it matched, or it fails because it came from somewhere else that it shouldn't have. How does a basic SPF record look like? So we have V equals SPF1, IP equals 127.0.0.1, include spf.google.com-all. It's broken down here. This is the start of the SPF record right here, V equals SPF1. I'm assuming version. That's probably what V stands for. IPv4 determines the IP address, can send email on behalf of google.com. And then this -all, non-authorized emails will be rejected. And then we have some syntax here on 2 different hyperlinks. We'll go ahead and get those open. So we have, it looks like a dash is fail, question mark is neutral, tilde for soft fail, and plus for pass. And then we kind of have, it breaks down here what actions would be taken, and it explains the different results. All right. So we look down here and we can see that twitter.com with this SPF surveyor tool that is linked here has quite a few different email domains or IP addresses here in their SPF record. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to read through the text to see if there's anything important that they want me to point out. Not really seeing anything. The image below is from the Google Admin Toolbox message header. We played around with that a little bit last week, where you can analyze malicious mail, and you can see that whatever message this is soft failed because it was an unknown IP address. And we can come down here, and we can see that a soft fail results in an accept but a mark. So the message comes through, but it's marked and it's flagged. Even though this task uses DMARC for SPF-related information and online checks, many other companies do the same. So I guess that's just a random note about it. Looking at the SPF syntax table, what prefix character can be added to the all mechanism to ensure a soft fail? We saw that earlier. That is that tilde. Hit submit. What is the meaning of the -all tag? So we saw it up here. Non-authorized emails will be rejected. But it looks like they are looking for fail because they only have the 4 dashes. On to DKIM. DKIM, also known as Domain Keys Identified Mail, is used for authentication of an email that's being sent. Basically, a quick way of explaining it is that it's a key that identifies, I mean, it's it's in the name, right? It's a key that identifies mail. It's a domain's key. I'm sure we're going to break it down a little bit better than that, but off the top of my head, that is the easiest way of explaining it. It is kind of just in the name. So this is what a DKIM record looks like. We have the version DKIM1. We have an RSA key. Key equals RSA. RSA is an encryption standard, by the way. Or an encryption algorithm, rather. P equals public key. So this is the public key that is matched to the private key, which was created during the DKIM setup process. And there are additional DKIM resources here and here that I'm sure we're probably going to have to go to and for these questions. I'm seeing a trend here. And we have a little bit of a screenshot from an email header here. You can see in the authentication results down here that DKIM passed, so it did identify that this was the domain. I'm trying to find in here if it says, because there's a better way of explaining this. So they're not really explaining it. Essentially, the email servers have their keys. Oh man, do they have this written down somewhere? Yeah, they do right here. So it creates the digital signature, and you can verify that the email came from where it was supposed to come from by using the public key that is provided. This ensures that no information was changed, right? This is a part of non-repudiation, not one of our pillars of CIA, but it is a main pillar of integrity. Non-repudiation, also known as verifying that, in layman's terms, it is, or it basically says that a user or a server or whatever is who they say they are, right? It hasn't been altered. So it explains it here, right? When an email is sent, the originating email server generates a unique digital signature for the message. This signature is based on the content of the email itself, ensuring that any alteration in the email during transit can be detected. That's that non-repudiation. That's an integrity check. The signature is created using a private key known only to the sender's domain, and you can verify it checks by putting this public key against it. Which email header shows the status of whether DKIM passed or failed. Now, this is all to say not to get discouraged. You don't have to fully understand how to implement SPF, DKIM, DMARC, all of these, SMIME, whatever else we decide to go into to perform your duties as if you were investigating phishing emails. You just kind of have to understand what they are, right? You have to understand the weight of a DKIM fail. That just means that it's not coming from that domain or something has been altered. And we saw that it comes from the authentication results header. And we can talk about DMARC earlier. Now, you heard me, or sorry, we can talk about DMARC now. You heard me earlier state that DMARC is basically just DKIM and SPF wrapped together with a little bit extra, right? So we can see that in this quote right here, DMARC, domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. That's a mouthful. Say that 5 times fast. An open source standard uses a concept called alignment to tie the result of the other 2 open source standards, SPF and DKIM, to the content of email. If not already deployed, putting a DMARC record in place for your domain will give you feedback that will allow you to troubleshoot SPF and DKIM. So this is what a DMARC record looks like. We have V equals DMARC 1, P equals quarantine, and RUA equals mail2, postmaster at website.com. So what do these mean, right? Version equals DMARC 1. This is saying what we're working with. P equals quarantine. If a check fails, there is an email that will be sent to us. Then an email will be sent to the spam folder. In this case, right? They have P equals quarantine, so it's saying it's going to go to quarantine. It'll come through. It's just going to go to your spam folder. RUA equals mail2 postmaster at website.com. Aggregate reports will be sent to this email address. So whatever reporting is in place will be sent to that email address. And we have some DMARC resources that we can look at. And we can use this domain health checker, which is a pretty neat tool. You can see, for example, Microsoft.com. They put it in here. Also, it is at dmarcn.com. That is where that domain checker is. And it'll tell you the status of your DMARC, DKIM, or your DMARC rather, and your SPF and DKIM to see if they're still valid and strict. Microsoft passed all checks, thankfully, you would hope, right? And we can look at a more information in DMARC here. So we have DMARC version 1. The policy is to reject, so if it fails this check, it's going to go ahead and reject it. PCT equals 100. I'm not sure what PCT is, but we have this documentation that we can probably look at. Probably percent, I would assume, is what PC stands for. PCT equals percent. Let's see. Maybe it's in the other resource they gave us. Let's see. Where did that go? Right over here. We had 2 of them. I only clicked into one. Very tiny text here. A little bit of a robust information of DMARC. So PCT, percentage of messages subject to filtering. So basically it's saying that all messages are subject to this filtering because the percent is 100. And there's just more information about the mail-tos. And then FO looks like it is not documented on this page, at least. But I'm sure it's documented somewhere. Which DMARC policy would you use to not accept an email if the message fails the DMARC check? It looks like P equals reject is our answer here. I would assume we'll just give it a whirl. Why not? P equals reject. Yep, that worked. SMIME. I'm sure it's in this documentation. More than likely. P. Is there values in here for P equals? I just kind of made an assumption. A little bit of Google foo probably would have gave us the answer as well. But they had a P equals reject, so one would think. Alright, SMIME. Secure Multi-Purpose Internet Mail Extensions. Don't feel bad if you don't remember the acronyms. Even when it comes to test day, you might forget a couple. I know I did for Sec Plus CYSA. You just really have to understand what these things are. And I'm sure probably in an interview it helps to have the acronyms memorized as well. You can always write things down, take notes, right? SMIME is a widely accepted protocol for sending digitally signed and encrypted messages. So this is kind of adding a step onto this, right? We've been digitally signing our messages. We've had digital signatures coming in, and now we're going to be encrypting them. The two main ingredients, yep. Using the public key cryptography model, SMIME guarantees data integrity and non-repudiation. There's that non-repudiation we were talking about again. If Bob wants to use SMIME, he'll need a digital certificate. The certificate will contain his public key. With this digital certificate, he can sign the email with his private key. They can, Mary can then decrypt Bob's message with Bob's public key, right? This is kind of getting into that asymmetric encryption algorithm, which I'm not going to get too deep into right now. But it is a two-key system, one public, one private. You do not share your private. Anything that you encrypt with your... I always get this confused when trying to explain it out loud. Anything that you encrypt with your private key can be decrypted with your public key. Anything that you decrypt with your public key, you can decrypt with your private keys. So basically, the way you would use that is you would encrypt something with your private key and then send it over. That way, someone who has your public key can decrypt it and make sure it came from you. If you encrypted something with your public key, then unless you have that private key, no one's going to be able to access it. Mary will do the same to make sure that they're doing encrypted email transfer, and then it will have the certificates for future correspondence. This all kind of happens at the back end, I think. The illustration shows how it's going to happen here with the plain text, and then you encrypt with the private key, and then you have this encrypted email. Gets decrypted with the public key, and Mary can see it. We'll refer to the Microsoft documentation for SMIME on how to configure it for 365. I'm sure it's not a short document. Oh, it looks like a short document. Oh, it's multiple parts over here on the left. Let's see. What is non-repudiation? The answer is a full sentence, including the period. Alright, so we gotta go find the sentence that mentions non-repudiation here. Here we go. Non-repudiation. The uniqueness of a signature prevents the owner of the signature from disowning the signature. Basically, they can't say they didn't send it, right? Because that's their signature. It's like, it's the same thing as though I came up to a piece of paper, took my hand, did my signature on it, and I said, no, that's not me. And everybody who saw me sign it, and anything that I've ever signed in the past that has my signature on it, they'd just be like, yeah, no, that's your signature. It looks exactly like your signature. All right. So we'll paste that in there. Oh, and it looks like we have a machine to start, so I'll go ahead and get that started while we read through here. In this task, we will examine a PCAP or a packet capture file, which is network traffic, with SMTP traffic. You will focus only on SMTP codes in this task. You must be familiar with Wireshark and packet analysis to answer the questions below. So here are a couple resources, which I'll go ahead and open up, just in case I have to refer to them. I probably will at some point. It is okay to not remember all of your commands. All of your filters, that is. But I will try my best to try and not refer to it right at the beginning. But it is there if you're walking through the room and you do need the assistance. It is right there for us. And we have a bunch of questions that rely on this being loaded. So I'll go ahead and look at chat for a second. Nothing new, seemingly. Oh, Looks like our virtual desktop is being spun up anyways, so I will go ahead and see if I can get this in full screen, please. Oh. Has a countdown timer still. So what are they looking for? What Wireshark filter can you use to narrow down the packet output using SMTP status codes? Let's see. That's SMTP. I mean, I'm gonna have to use it like right off the top of my head, or right off the bat. SMTP dot. What do they want? Response code. SMTP dot response code. Response dot code. Per the network traffic, what was the message status of 220? Well, I have to have the network traffic for that one. All right, we can go ahead and view this in full screen, kill this split screen view so we can have our nice big Tryhackme page again. And sure, you can copy and paste. We'll go ahead and open up this PCAP. Should open up with Wireshark just by double clicking it. We will make this bigger. This is Wireshark. Now, it can look scary, and there's a lot of stuff happening here, but we're keeping it simple this time. Per the network traffic, what was the message for status code 220? So we have this response code filter we can use. We can do SMTP.response code, and it'll go this pink color until it's right. And they kind of help you here, right? You can do .code equals 220. Is that gonna work? Does not look like it's gonna work. Let's go ahead and just type in the response code and see if we can find a 220 here. So we can click on this packet right here. You can see in the info it says that 220. That's what we're gleaning off of here, by the way. Go into the SMTP dropdown, response code 220. Response code 220 is domain service ready. So we'll go ahead and type that out. Angle brackets, domain service ready. That is the output. In your answer, replace angle brackets with square. Okay, well, not having that as a hint would be nice. Should have said that in the thing. That should be correct now. Awesome. One packet shows a response that an email was blocked using spamhouse.org. What were the packet number and status code? So, what we could do here is we could use a filter, I believe, with this plus button, yes, to look for, I don't know if it's the plus button. I don't remember how to get to the filters to search for strings. Let's see, is it maybe in view? I always forget where this is. I'm not on Wireshark very often, so. Analyze. I want to search for a string, please. Search for a string. Find a packet. I do that with a string. String! Here we go. It's in this drop down. So it was in the drop down that said display filter. You just click it, goes a string. So we can look for the spamhouse.org here and look for any packets that contain that. We have a few of them here. Specifically, it looks like we are looking at packet 156. So we know the packet number 156. And then we have our drop downs again. Response 553, email blocked using spamhouse.org. So our response code is 553. Based on the packet from the previous question, what was the message regarding the mailbox? Good question. Email blocked using spamhouse.org. Not sure what they are looking for. Based on the packet from the previous question, what was the message regarding the mailbox? Mailbox name not allowed. Oh, that's probably it. Mailbox name not allowed. So this would be some of that explicit deny, right? We know spamhouse.org probably has a bad reputation. That's what that failure to send looks like. What is the status code that will typically precede a SMTP data command? Let's see. Do we have any in here? What's going on, FedEx? Yeah, Wireshark. Wireshark's great. I don't use it nearly enough, but it is nice. So we'll probably just use the old Google machine here. It's okay to Google. Googling is okay, I promise. What is the status code that will typically precede an SMTP data command? I'll just put it exactly like that. What is the status code that will typically precede an SMTP data command? Looks like we got an AI answer for 354. See if AI is right today. Are you right today? You are right today. All right, we're going to go beyond SMTP codes and look at trivial SMTP traffic. What port is SMTP traffic using? 25. I know that one off the top of my head because you do have to memorize it for the SEC Plus and CYSA. SMTP is over port 25. How many packets are specifically SMTP? So we're going to go back here to our PCAP. And they want to know how many packets in all of this, because it's not just SMTP. We have TCP, we have a few different things here. So we want to know how many packets are SMTP in all of this noise. So we can just type in SMTP. Looks for the protocol. How many do we have? We have displayed down here 512 packets that are SMTP. What is the source IP address for all of the SMTP traffic? We already have it filtered. We have a few different sources, it seems. We have 10, 12, 19, 101. We have 17, 151, 62, 67. A 216 address, a 65 address. We have a few different ones. Which SMTP traffic are they looking for? Quite a few different sources here. They're all going to the same destination. Well, no, they're not actually. They're going to a few different destinations. So we'll go ahead and look at, maybe we're looking for this blocked communication. Is that what we're looking for here? Not sure what they want us to look at. Oh my. This is interesting. What in the world? So we're looking for an IP address that has 3 octets that are 2 numbers and 1 octet that is 3. So I guess we'll just hunt and peck here for the right IP address. They're not being very specific about what they are looking for. So I'm going to assume that we're looking at this one, 10, 12, 19, 101. Yep. So I figured that one out. They didn't really say what IP address they wanted you to focus on. I mean, we have a bunch of junk SMTP data down here, but this does actually look like a bunch of actual emails coming in and out. So that's probably a good signifier there, but it is also the only IP address that matched the schema they were looking for. What is the file name of the third attachment? Well, the reference below may assist us with this task. What do we got? IMF? Oh, okay, so for the internet message format? Okay. So, we can try and find attachments by looking for one of these. Maybe we'll just look for IMF traffic in general. So it looks like we have a few different hits here. Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah, I agree, J-Mod. What's going on? Welcome. Oh, welcome to the party. Not welcome to the party, but happy birthday, FedEx. Grilling and drinking. What are we grilling and what are we drinking? Alright. IMF. So we can see here. Do we have anything here? Internet message format. We'll drop this down. MIME. If this is multi-part media encapsulation, so without getting into the nitty-gritty, this is where like attachments would be. So we will go to the third packet, seemingly. What's the third attachment? That's what they're asking for, I want to say. Let's see. Nothing there. Ah, here we go. Under the encapsulated multi-part part. Its name is attachment.scr. So we can see that attachment.scr went through our network. And what about the last file attachment? So I guess we'll just go to this last packet here. Do the same thing, look for that multi-part part. File name is just .zip. Alright, on to SMTP and command and control communication. Got a Blackstone. Oh, nice. New York strips and ribeyes. I just actually grilled some New Yorks the other day. I like to put my New York strips on the smoker until they are about 10 degrees shy of where I want their finishing temp to be. And then I have my Blackstone or a hot pan preheated, and I will take them off the smoker when they're 10 degrees, or 15 rather. 15 degrees before they're before completion, and hit them with a hard sear on both sides, so you get that nice crust, locks in everything. Yeah. So we'll look at SMTP and how it's been used by adversaries for command and control communications. We can go into this. There's so many tabs open now. I'm not Jerry. I'm not Eric. I'm not gonna have a bunch of tabs open all the time. All right. Per MITRE, adversaries may communicate using the application layer protocols associated with electronic mail delivery to avoid detection, network filtering by blending in with existing traffic, right? You're letting SMTP traffic into your network because you want emails. So, what's the next logical step? Blend in that command and control traffic. We've talked about command and control, but it's basically, if you are not familiar, think about having a remote server that you have gained access to, and you are now using your command and control software to send commands to it and control it. It's just a way of remotely accessing these devices, and this traffic is very, very visible if they don't hide it, because it's very constant. You'll have big bulks of traffic at a time if they're doing a lot of commands, But if you hide it in SMTP or DNS, another popular one to hide it in, it gets lost in all of the noise. So APT28, APT32, and Turla have used this technique. And how can we mitigate this? Network intrusion detection and prevention systems that use network signatures to identify traffic for specific adversary malware. So basically flagging on known malware and maybe patterns. And then a detection opportunity is to analyze packet contents to detect application layer protocols that do not follow the expected protocol standards, regularly regarding syntax, structure. Basically, look at your SMTP traffic and see if anything looks weird. We're going to look at the network intrusion and prevention and detection in future rooms. Good, I'm glad. I would love to train on some of that. Those are always fun. Network forensics and network security is always one that's harder to do in lab environments without having a physical home lab of some sort or a lot of virtualization capacity. So I would love to see how Tryhackme does it. Per MITRE attack, which software is associated with using SMTP and POP3 for C2 communications? Well, we did bring this up, so we can look at procedure examples. We have a few different people who are using it, different rat tools. They're looking for SMTP and POP3 specifically. We look at Zebroki or Zebroki or whatever it is. Zebroki is the only one that had that SMTP and POP3. There's a few different tools that do this, as you can see. And we move on to our conclusion. We have a few different IR playbooks here. Let's see. Phishing IR playbook, we'll bring it up. Have all this different IR playbook. And then a PCAP that was used in this room was malware traffic analysis. Great website if you want to learn to use Wireshark and investigate PCAPs. And then we can just click continue. And that's the room. All right. Well, overall, we talked about a few different email security techniques. Now, as your phishing attacks get more and more advanced, they may start passing by a few of these different techniques. And a couple of the later techniques that we talked were more about non-repudiation, integrity, and confidentiality more than preventing phishing. But they are all built on each other, and they all work to help prevent phishing. It adds just a little bit of complexity and can make that phishing campaign a little bit harder. Great stream. This is some stuff I do almost daily. Phishing, 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 phishing. Yes, so much phishing. Phishing is one of the #1 entry vectors. It's probably the #1. I'd have to find a study to back up that claim, but it's the #1 entry vector in a lot of these scenarios. In a lot of your incidents, you'll find that phishing was typically the start, right? It's usually stage 1 of some kind. But yes, it's important to be able to understand how to analyze these phishing emails to see if we can prevent them somehow. And then using the techniques we talked about today, we can make it a little bit harder for these phishing emails to get in, right? You can set up that DMARC policy to just deny anything that fails a DMARC check. So overall, if you are managing network, I would definitely recommend implementing these controls. You can look at your own domains to see if you're passing those checks with a couple of the tools we went through in the room. And that packet capture analysis was really great for looking at and just really learning how to drive Wireshark. That's a pretty good skill to have. So, if you enjoyed, go ahead and like and subscribe, all the good stuff that YouTubers always ask you to do. I will catch you all next Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, as always. Until then, take care.